Hi, this
Hi.
is Boddhicitta special series again, so we'll be answering legal questions today.
Okay, the first question is 15 years ago, a relative bought a house under the relative's name. So the relatives legally owned the house, but he or she didn't pay anything else. Then he saw her grandmother paid the house herself, but her grandmother passed away, and and there is no wills. So everybody realized that the grandmother wanted to save the house to his uncle, but now the relatives doesn't want to return the house to them. Just say that the house is the relatives
Okay.
himself.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, very typical case in Hong Kong because money at stake is very large, and the dispute involves relatives who usually don't have very close or good relationships, as you have no choice of who your relatives are. But this case is not a very difficult one because the fact is very clear. The grandmother paid for the house, but the house was registered under the relative's name, so legally speaking, the relative owned the house. But under our common law, whilst the relative might be owning the legal title of the house, but it doesn't mean that he or she owns the beneficial interest and the beneficial title of the house. So basically saying, unless that relative is a direct relative of the grandmother, for example, is your aunt that is the daughter of the grandmother, there's no presumption of gift. No presumption of gift means that the presumption is that the relative is only holding the house as a trustee for the grandmother. So the beneficial interest still is with the grandmother. Since the grandmother is now gone, so then the beneficial interest of the house belongs to the estate of the grandmother. In that case, you should go and apply for a letter of administration of the estate of the grandmother, and then the administrator has the right to commence legal action against the relative, of course in the name of the grandmother's estate, and they can seek a declaration that the relative was purely holding the house as a trustee for the estate of grandmother, and so eventually you will be able to get back the house, but of course litigation cannot be avoided for this one.
Okay. So they need a lawyer actually.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So the next question is about will. Who can benefit from the will?
Who can benefit from a will?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Whoever named as a beneficiary under the will be able to benefit from will. If you die intestate, which means you die without a will, then your estate will be distributed in accordance with the intestate rules and the intestate laws in Hong Kong, and basically all your assets will be distributed amongst your direct relatives, spouse, sons, right, something like that. But if you have a will, then basically you can give your assets to whoever you want. But one thing you should have in mind is that if your asset involves immovable property outside Hong Kong, then there might be some problem, because under the laws of Hong Kong, immovable property situated elsewhere, the distribution of that and the inheritance of that will have to comply with local laws. So if you have a house in China, then even if you have a will, the house has to be inherited in accordance with the in accordance with the laws of China. But of course, in many places they have laws and rules that if a foreigner has a house here and if he dies, the house and should be the inheritance of the house should be performed in accordance with his will if he has any. So that shouldn't be a problem, even if you have overseas property, as long as you have a will. But in the case that you does not have a will and die intestate, then any immovable property situated elsewhere will be distributed in accordance with local laws. So, and that could be very different from Hong Kong, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is a weird question. If the national security law is a national security law brings negative effect to China, so is that the national security law is illegal?
You mean by imposing national security law attracts more foreign sanctions, which in turn endanger national security?
Yeah.
So that's sort of dilemma. Okay. All right. This is a very literal approach to the law itself. Well, we should always bear in mind that laws and literature and politics are completely different. They might have some relevance, but most of the time they are very separate and different subjects. A government wants to pass its laws, they have some rationale behind, and so if I want to pass a law, it's very common that I pass this law because I want to achieve something other than that it's provided in the law. A very example is environmental law. If you simply use a literal and legal perception to interpret the environmental law, you would simply think from a very environmental perspective. But the politician legislate this kind of laws, probably they have other agendas behind. So and that rationale and the goals, the objectives behind will not be interpreted whether in literature sense or in legal sense. So well, we'll reserve the political question to politician.
Yes, it is really hard to tell whether national security law is legal or illegal because,
or whether they have a dilemma, and it's very common for politician and government to create some sort of dilemma.
Yeah, so
right.
I guess this is a difficult question.
Right. We can talk for 3 days, 3 weeks on this, not for 3 minutes.
It actually is a good question.
Yeah, she will be answering this maybe someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question.
Okay, the last question. If you disclose the full name or some photos of a person online, is it illegal? If I mentioned something that is according to the fact, I don't know how to translate this one, and I give it to you. You just answer the first one first.
Okay, so all right, so this is a question asking whether if I slander someone without naming him, is it illegal? The answer is no. It is illegal.
Even which one is illegal? Sorry,
slandering someone. Slandering.
But how about the first question?
If the question is whether it is illegal if I slander someone without naming him.
Without naming. Oh, okay.
She has bad Chinese. Right. Okay. Right. The answer is it is never illegal in the sense that you cannot commit an offense by slandering someone, by defaming someone, but it creates civil liability, so you might be sued in civil courts. the definition of defamation is when someone makes a false or untrue statements in relation to a third party. In relation to someone, I make a statement to a third party in relation to someone which is not true, and that may damage his reputation, then I am liable for defamation. And if I slander someone without naming him, and if the public or the third party receiving this message cannot link these statements to a particular person, probably you are not liable for defamation. But if you are defaming or slandering someone who is quite famous, and people do not need to know his name to associate your description to that person, then you will be liable for defamation. So this is the answer. But of course, if you are just simply telling facts, then you will not be defaming someone.
Wow. Thank you.
Right. It has a second part, right?
The second point.
The second part of the question. Okay, right. So if you're arguing with, the question is, if you're arguing with someone and you swear, you use foul language, and that foul language probably involves some sort of untrue description statements in relation to that person, or you are just making up something in relation to the other's mothers, is that defamation?
Others.
Right. The answer is no. But of course, you might be sued for doing this, but it is a defense to defamation that the expression and the statements you made was purely made out of an emotional expression. So because I was arguing with you, I'm angry, then I just want to embarrass you and to insult you, and so I use a lot of foul language and false statements, then under the law that is not defamation, because I am not actually defaming you. And when people know that I made those statements purely because I was angry, then that was not defamation, because people won't believe that. Right. Okay, so yeah, that's all for the answering, and I guess we dealt with all questions today. Next time we'll be answering more questions, so please feel free to leave us questions if you are interested in any other topics.
Yeah, and
Right.
please like us, give us comments.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.